So the ruling is in. The Austrian Data Protection Authority has officially ruled that Austrian website providers using Google Analytics are in violation of the GDPR. So this is a major, very landmark case and really spells the probably not so good of a future for Google and Google Analytics. What is the meaning? What's the importance of this? Why did they do it? And how is it going to affect things? That's what we're going to be getting into on today's episode of the BB&J podcast. I'm your host, John Lint, as almost always. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So to provide some context for this, this all process really started in 2020 with the ruling known as Schrems 2, which marked the end of a law called Privacy Shield, or a group of laws called Privacy Shield, which regulated how EU user data was sent to the United States, because Google is a US-based company, and what they were doing is essentially tracking EU users, European Union users, data, and then sending that back to the US. However, the European Union has concerns about American privacy, the potential of it being used, especially by the American government, so they had that initial crackdown. However, this recent ruling by the Austrian DPA really shows that, this is moving forward. These data concerns, these privacy concerns are really moving forward, because they officially ruled Google Analytics, the use of Google Analytics, illegal for Austrian sites. Now, here's the thing. They are the first to do this, but they aren't the only ones trying to do it. Several courts across the European Union have similar cases that are currently in motion, and we might see a situation in the next few years where multiple countries ban Google Analytics, or you might even have an EU-wide ban. So why are they even doing this? What was all this concern coming from? Well, the specific thing is the GDPR. The GDPR is actually something that you'll see a lot even in United States sites. However, it is specifically established and regulated by the European Union, and it's called the General Data Protection Regulation. Basically, it governs how user data is used by different websites, different services. So if you have a website, or if you poke around websites, I'm sure you know about the GDPR page. This is especially important when you're dealing with a lot of user data, or where the kind of interactions that users have on a website is considered more personal or private, especially when it comes to medical matters, which has its own regulations. But the GDPR has been the real thing that has been driving, I guess we could say, the hammer of these legal actions that have been taken against Google especially. So what does this mean for Google and Google Analytics, right? So that's the question. So the reason that it is so popular, and especially with people like us, is Google Analytics does a really good job at helping us understand and characterize who uses our sites and how they interact with them. Now, on the user end, they might not want their data necessarily used for this, but it's very popular because it does a great job at tracking users across sites, right? You can kind of compare it to Facebook Pixel, which tracks users and helps build a profile to create a more specific ad experience, right? Now, if you're not in the market, if you're in the marketing field, or you have a business that uses digital marketing, you're going to want to continue to use Google Analytics, right? As much as you can. But what the future of Google Analytics Is it going to go away? Probably not. However, we might kind of end up seeing something like what we saw with Facebook, where they had to roll back significantly how much you could target based on demographic. And I mean, you almost got rolled back like 10, 15 years in terms of how specific you could be with advertising on the platform. So for the future of Google Ads, well, the thing I'll say is with these increased regulations and the realistic modifications that are going to be happening with Google Analytics, you can expect ad costs to go up, especially when you're trying to run Google Ads. And the biggest thing that's going to drive those costs down and keep them down, and this is true for pretty much any platform, is video-based content. Organic content, organic reach is going to be the big thing that helps offset this. You know, I mean, like, Google Ads are potentially going to be harder to run. That means that you need to be doing more of a focus on keeping that Google My Business up to date, because that is going to help you organically reach and your target demographic. So putting work into your content is going to do the best job at keeping you safe for the future of Google Analytics and, Google regulation, all that. Remember, just because you might be saying, oh, well, John, I don't have any clients in the EU. I don't have any customers in the EU. What's the big deal? They don't want to have a EU specific, US specific, all that stuff. These sites, services try to be broad spectrum where they can, right? So they are going to regulate according to the strictest person. So you need to be EU compliant, so to speak, as well. And I mean, if you are able to do that and adapt effectively, then you're going to be in a much better place and you're going to be a lot safer. Biggest thing, make that content, right? I just wanted to talk about this. This is pretty recent and pretty significant, but I'd like to thank you so much for listening and or watching. If you have any articles, subjects, topics you want me to talk about, I love to talk. But I love to bring up these things, learn about these things, try to inform you guys about them. So, yeah, absolutely let me know. And other than that, I'll see you next week.